if I were to tell you that you were responsible for creating, designing, constructing a new normal, not only for yourself and your family, but for your community, your country, and in fact, the world? Would you embrace that concept with open arms, ready for the challenge? Or would you shy away from it, have a sense of aversion, and feel like that's just too much? How could I possibly take that kind of responsibility? Well, today I'd like to share with you a perspective on what it means to be responsible. Like many of my friends, and perhaps even you, I charged into 2020 with an excitement unlike I had not had in the previous 10 years. I was fresh off the heels of the accomplishment of a major life goal that had taken me the better part of 15 years. I had changed careers recently from a massive accounting organization to a small and growing firm. I was ready to start a new business, blogging, podcasting, writing books. The options were endless. I was excited and ready for 2020. And then coronavirus hit, and it hit hard. It took our jobs. It took the freedom to just walk around, to gather together in public, and it took lives. We sat in isolation, in quarantine, trying to flatten the curve to do our part. We donned masks, and we agreed to socially distance ourselves. The media at that time was grappling with, when would we return to normal? When would we get back to normal? And eventually that gave way to, what would a new normal look like for us? When would we get to the new normal? What would it be? And while we were grappling with these concepts of what that new normal in a coronavirus, a COVID-19 world would look like, we were suffocated as we watched for 8 minutes and 46 seconds George Floyd lose every breath in his body by the knee of a Minnesota police officer who so nonchalantly and carelessly took that man's life. We all together groaned in pain, in anger, in frustration. We all cried. Some of us, because we were isolated and because we were quarantined, because we were watching, we reached a new level of frustration with the injustices that some of us have felt and have been a part of our normal for quite some time. And so I wondered to myself, what could I do? I'm not an activist. I'm not a protester. I've been in the Department of Defense for 24 years. I'm not involved in politics, the political process. I've stayed right down the middle. So what do I do? How do I get involved? And so with great anxiety, I just had this feeling of powerlessness. One day while on a walk in my neighborhood, I was listening to an Audible book, and Sadhguru said, "You are responsible." Not responsible spelled traditionally with S-I-B-L-E, but response-able, A-B-L-E. As in, I have the ability to respond to life, to situations, to the circumstances around me. And my ability to respond is limitless. It's only constrained by my willingness to respond. And so I began to think about a new thing. I have the ability, and my ability is limitless. For instance, if I was sitting in a restaurant and someone next to me began to choke, if I have the proper training, perhaps I start the Heimlich maneuver. Maybe I go and get restaurant staff to get help. Maybe I call the police, call 911, or maybe I just sit and pray. But my options are open as long as I sit there and I accept the fact that I am responsible. And so, how do we apply that responsibility? How do we take responsibility in building what the new normal will be? Because normal is not behind us. It's not in the rearview mirror. It's out there. And it's up to us to build it, to design a normal for ourselves. For me personally, I can write. I can use my voice to deliver a message. I can engage with compassion and have courageous conversations with my friends and in my circle. I can listen with an open heart and an open mind and be willing to have conversations with people whose beliefs don't line up with mine. There are a myriad of ways that I could respond as long as I acknowledge my responsibility. And so I ask if you're willing to say, I too am responsible. If you're willing to respond to life from a position of power and possibility. If you are open to the concept of being able to co-create a future of courage, one where the oppression of one people is not required for the comfort or profit of another, we can create an entire new world. So I ask you if you will be accepting of that responsibility and if you will acknowledge that responsibility, what will you do?